But, I had a paper route when I was younger.
Classic paper route, lemonade stand. Just like, okay, how can I make a buck as a kid,
That's what most tech people will do, is they will keep their world a mystery. So, the muggles can't handle my magic.
Even in our business, in video production and podcasting, it's like, sometimes I think to myself, like, how do you not, know, to have a mic or light yourself well or whatever it is? People are blind to it. Are you ready to feel like it's Friday every day? I'm Mark Labriola II, and this is the Friday Habit. We interview experts to learn how to bring excitement, possibility, and sweet, sweet relief into every single day, no matter what day it is. If you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, or agency leader, get ready to grow your business, lead with purpose, and build a life you love. Welcome to the Friday Habit. And welcome back to another Friday Habit. We're Fridaying all day, every day. Today I'm excited. We have a great guest for you. Benjamin, not the Ben. Ben is still gallivanting somewhere across the world. Last time we talked, he was in Bangkok. So there were a 16-hour difference, I think, or something like that from us here. So, yeah, he's still on. But today we got another Ben, Benjamin Johnson, and he's a serial technical co-founder and the mastermind behind Particle 41. He's got over 20 years of experience in software development, DevOps, and data science. And Ben has a proven track record of building and scaling successful companies with helping CEOs solve their toughest tech challenges. Hopefully I got all that right. Ben, how's it going? Welcome to the Friday Habit.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. That was a great intro. Thank you.
Yeah, well, how are you doing, dude?
I'm doing great, man.
Yeah, you living your best life?
Absolutely.
Where are you located?
I'm in the Dallas area, North Dallas, little suburb called Frisco, Texas.
Yeah, Frisco. A lot went down in Frisco. I don't know. It seems like some famous town, in the westerns. It's like Clint Eastwood's like rolling into Frisco and...
Yeah, it sounds like it should be that way, but man, it is changing so rapidly. The PGA just moved their headquarters here this past year. Yep. So PGA headquarters is right down the street from me. A Universal Studios theme park targeted to elementary age kids is rolling in as we speak. They're constructing that now. And they've dropped like 30,000 homes in our area in the last 24 months.
Dude, that is crazy. So you're getting is it a big influx of people from California and stuff like that, or
all over? Yeah, definitely. Definitely, it's a diversifying area, which is really cool. And yeah, we would love to keep our politics, but accept all parties, all other parties to come on in. We welcome you openly. Just remember why you wanted to come here.
That's what I always say about Colorado, because we get so many people coming from like California and all these other places, and I'm like, guys, now you're changing all the policies, and like now we have a homeless problem and all these other kind of things we didn't have before. Sure. And it's like that's why you left where you were from.
That's right. And so where in Colorado are you?
We're just in Denver, like right outside Denver metro area. So
cool. Yeah, I grew up in Lakewood.
Okay, Lake Hood. Let's go, buddy.
Yeah, and then I moved down to Pueblo for junior high and high school.
Okay.
But then I went to Colorado School of Mines.
Oh, great. All right. That's awesome. So you're a fan of Colorado then?
Yep. We were just in Estes Park for Christmas, actually. Christmas week.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's all decorated, and it's just that charming, like, mountain.
Oh, it was a vibe for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool, man. So growing up, what was your family into? I mean, were you a family of entrepreneurs, or, what did they do?
My parents were just solid working class folks. But, I had a paper route when I was younger, so I got into the entrepreneurial
paper
thing.
Route, lemonade stand, just like, okay, how can I make a buck as a kid,
That's right.
You were doing the paper route too, probably, early 2000s, 90s? Mid-90s? You look like a young guy.
Yeah, so I graduated in 95. So
okay, so you were doing like 80s and 90s. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you're like old school where you had to like, I think I talked to somebody about this on the show a few months ago where it's like, yeah, you had to like get up super early. You had to like roll your papers and like stuff them into like a plastic sack and then go around and in the dark and like throwing out papers onto people's driveways.
You got it. Hustle that.
Yeah, so that builds character. I always tell my kids, hard things make you tough. It builds grit. So you'll be successful if you can do hard things when you're young. Then doing harder things as you get older is easy.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing my kids do is turn on the Xbox, but we'll work on that. We'll work on that.
Dude, the struggle's real. I mean, I got 3 kids, 16, 13, and 11, and for me, it's like I never wanted to be inside. Like as a kid, I was like outside on my Huffy bike, like cruising the neighborhood, jumping in some sort of dumpster, trying to find treasures. like whatever it was, I was just like out there adventuring. Yeah. And now it's like my kids are like, oh, it's too hot or it's too cold. I don't want to go outside.
I think we had like a 5-mile radius that we were free to travel. Of course, we could hear my dad's whistle no matter where we were. My dad had a very distinctive mass broadcast system whistle. But, we had a 5-mile radius that we could function around with no cell phones.
Right. Yeah, no one was worried that we were in a ditch somewhere or like, they were just like, yeah, as long as you're home before the street lamps turn on.
Come on.
You're good. Yeah. And like nobody cared. But yeah, now it's like 2 seconds after when someone's supposed to be somewhere, I'm like looking up on Find My to see like where they
were
are.
attacked by Libyan terrorists for sure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's cool. How many kids do you have?
So I have 4. I have 22, 19, 11, and 6.
Dang, okay. So you're like the 6-year-old, but it's nice having other kids, like older kids, because like my oldest son now, he drives, so he's like taking his sister to swim and like, doing all this stuff. And so it's really helpful for sure having a kid, but 4 and a 6-year-old, 6-year-old's still kind of needy, A
little bit. I love it though, because, their parents, like the parents of my 6-year-old's peers are like in their 30s. So, like, I get to hang out with the young parents, right? If I go to, like, graduations, and I feel old when I hang out with the parents of my older kids' peers. So, yeah, I like it. I get to hang out with the 30-somethings at jiu-jitsu. Yeah,
you're like, I'm cool. I can, I can do a...
I'm young. I can hang.
Well, being in tech, sometimes that can keep you young too. So you're in a school of mine. So you're obviously you're a brainiac, and being in DevOps and development, software development, you were drawn to like nerdy stuff at an early age. I mean, what was your first computer? Like a Radio Shack Tandy or something like that?
Little Commodore 64.
Little Commodore 64 Classic, Apple II, whatever it is.
That's right. In school, one of the things that definitely got me super interested in computer science at a young age is they would take you to the computer lab, and there's this thing called logos or logos, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was a triangle, and the triangle had a pen, and then you could write instructions for the triangle. So it might be forward 90, right turn 90, and then you do that 4 times, you write a square. And so then there was like a looping construct where you could just say repeat 4, and that would draw a square. And you could do like geometric shapes, and you were telling, and you could even take pick the pen up. So there's a command for pen up, pen down. And so it was just like drawing on the computer screen through a programming language. And I just thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, back in the day, right, it was like if you were going to be into computers, you like really had to be in. I remember my grandfather, he had an old PC down in their basement, and he had this game, I don't know if you remember, it's called Leisure Suit Larry. And it was like you could tell Leisure Suit Larry to do something like, it was almost like Grand Theft Auto, I think, before Grand Theft Auto. It was like really crappy graphics, and you're like, go into that bar and order a beer. But it's like you had to like type everything out, like all the instructions. You had to like type the instructions of what you wanted him to do, or, playing Oregon Trail, and you're like writing DOS code to like boot up the program and stuff like that.
Yeah, that reminds me of a guy who wrote a really cool article. And it was a really cool article. He said, I raised my kids on command line was kind of the headline of it. And so before he had gotten his kids, a console or a PC, he just started with he had an old PC, like an old laptop or something. And he put Linux on it, but not like the ready to go Linux. Yeah. He put this Arch Linux on there where you really had to tell it every single little thing that you wanted to install.
Nice.
So it booted up and it got the kid got a prompt, and then he showed them like, okay, well now you need a desktop. So you install the X10 whatever desktop environment, and then okay, well now we need to have mouse control. So showed him how to install the mouse.
Nice.
And so so now they're super excited that they're using some really simple paint program. Right. Because they've created every capability that the computer is capable of. And so they really have this love for computing.
Yeah.
And there's something about plug and play that kind of robs people of that, right? They just have this expectation that they hit the power button and it can do all these things. And the way he raised his kids was through command line. So really cool story.
Yeah, I love
about
that.
His kids' appreciation for computing because they had some role in giving the computer every capability.
Right. Yeah. No, and there's that a little bit of effort and work that goes into it, but then it's the reward when you see it come to life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see kind of what this next generation's all about and how they just how they navigate the world. I mean, I think for me, it's I really started to get into computers, in the early 2000s. Probably I started working for Apple in 2007, just selling computers in the Apple Store. Retail was kind of new back then. And, worked my way up there. They actually sent me to California, to Cupertino, to get my hardware and software certifications. And so then I became a genius, and I was able to repair stuff and do troubleshoot and, do hardware, replacements and things like that. And I really enjoyed it. One of the things, I had a very poor education growing up. I kind of lived with my mom until I was 10, and then moved to Colorado with my dad. And so I was terrible at spelling and just some of these fundamental things I was not good at. So a lot of those command lines and things like that, it's I'm spelling the word wrong and it's not doing what I wanted to do. And so that was kind of difficult. But then it was when Google came around, it was almost I could just type in whatever I wanted into Google, even if it was spelled wrong, and it would figure out what I was trying to say and then spit out the results of what I was looking for, And so then that really helped me as far as advance even in my career. It was someone would after I was at Apple, I moved over and I became a PC support specialist or help desk specialist for this company, Remax. I'm sure you're familiar with the brand. Their headquarters was out here, but someone would just be hey, this is happening on my computer, and I'd be I don't know what's all right, I'll be right up there to fix it. And then I would just Google exactly what they told me, and then some article would pop out. I'd be okay, cool, push this button, hold down these, restart, and then I would just go help people and support. So that really helped me navigate and excel through the different jobs I have. And then even now, fast forward, I have, we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary, and, I have an agency and employees and all this stuff. But man, AI, it has cut the time in writing proposals and brainstorming things. And it's been so helpful, in my day-to-day work. And so it's just going to be crazy to see what our kids deal with and grow up with. I mean, and I don't even necessarily have a problem. I'd like to get your thoughts or feedback on AI and some of that stuff. But it's funny how, they've really changed a lot of stuff in school, for instance, and my daughter has dyslexia. And so she just has a hard time learning certain things. But I really relate with that. I have really light dyslexia as well. And so AI has been fantastic for that because, for instance, with my daughter. She's, when she was in 5th grade, she's in 6th grade now, but when she was in 5th grade, it was like she asked me for help on her math, and I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And then they changed the process. Well, you make these 10 boxes and you count these 10. I'm like, what kind of math is this? Like, I've never seen this math.
Can we just learn our times tables already?
Yes,
Memorize
exactly.
that shit. Yeah,
totally. But then I would just, go on to ChatGPT and be like, hey, this is the kind of math we're doing. I need to solve this equation. Show me, teach me how to do this. And then it would teach me, and then I would get the answer and know how the answer was gotten. And then I would help my daughter with her math. And so I'm like, hey, this is great, And so I wonder how this is going to continue to evolve and how it's going to handicap society and also benefit them.
Yeah. I will. So I'm a big science fiction novel lover. So Neil Stephenson is I'm a big fan of Neil Stephenson.
Okay, nice. I'm big. What book? What book is it?
So I think the one I'm thinking of is Quicksilver, the illustrated primer. It's the first in the series called the Baroque Cycle.
Okay,
and cool. I won't spoil anything, but one of the coolest things about how he describes this future society is that the upper class, the elite, what we would call the elite class, they're like Victorians. So they wear top hats and suits, and they're like Victorians. And so their usage of technology has been suppressed willfully. They've chosen to suppress their use of technology. So they have this kind of hyper traditional existence where they've excluded technology. So then when they use technology, and many of them are creating it, it's very discreet. So they want very discrete technology uses. Well, now the common class are getting implants and how can I enhance myself?
Neuralink, yeah,
exactly. And so and then the kind of the downside of that is then their humanity is decreasing. So they're becoming more dependent on technology, and because of that, they're kind of under control. Right. So the more technology they're using, the more dependent they are on the powers that be. And so then you see the upper class kind of restrict themselves willfully. Right. So I think there's something to be said there.
That sounds. I'm going to read that. That sounds great. I'm going to check this out because I love
very cool book.
Science fiction.
And he's a bit of Neil Stephenson is a bit of a futurist. So Quicksilver kind of talks, the subtitle is a little girl's illustrated primer, and it's talking about an interactive book, like a digital book. Well, I mean, now my kids can barely get out of their tablets. And so he's a bit of a futurist because this is written many years ago, and it's kind of talking about, a child being raised by this digital book. So really cool. Definitely worth a read or listen. So I think that's something that eventually I think will evolve to, where there's willful resistance. So not all technology is good. We tend to be in a world where all technology is good right now, and so I think that'll rapidly change.
And we've seen iRobot, with Will Smith, and we've seen Terminator 2. I think how it ends.
I think since I'm a father, it's a little closer to home because I have 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds, and an 11-year-old boy, so 3 boys. My greatest concern right now with AI and just having boys is that they hopefully, I think the older 2 are kind of out of this window, but I do think that young men will struggle with artificial relationships.
100%.
So the idea that, hey, I have this just imagine, the OnlyFans relationship is now fully artificial, but now I can be affirmed by this relationship. So I think that's actually very close where there's this, addiction to artificial relationships. So I caution that. I think that's a very real thing that we're going to have to deal with, because it's already happening with just digital environments are more fun. I just we were just talking. it's more fun to stay home than to go outside and breathe hard.
Right.
Right. Like I can be excited and entertained by digital video games.
You're getting that dopamine hit constantly.
Oh, totally.
You know? Yeah.
So we're already seeing that. We're probably already personally experiencing it, where it's a little hard to turn off those reels. And so I think that is like a real thing. Now on the professional side, I was looking at my LinkedIn inbox going like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? I got thousands of unread messages. Right. I'm like, maybe there's some value in there, but like, I don't have time to go one by one through all those messages.
Right.
So then I learned that LinkedIn will give you a full download in 10 minutes. They will send you a full download of all your data. So they'll send you all your messaging all your contacts, all your messages, and they'll give you a CSV of it. So I was like, this is great. I grabbed the CSV. I uploaded it into Claude. I just kind of favor Claude a little bit over ChatGPT.
I like Claude.
And I said, hey, could you tell me if there's any messages of people that might be interested in my services? My hypothesis was that LinkedIn's just a bunch of spam.
Yeah, like everyone from the Philippines and all these people are like, hey, I see your business. It's really good. Like, we could do work together. I'm like, no, thanks. I don't know you.
Yeah, exactly. So am I really going to go treat it like an email and go archive or am I going to go curate those thousands of messages? But I was able within 30 minutes figuring, and the only reason why it took so long is I had to figure out that you could download your data from LinkedIn. I thought getting access to all those messages was going to be harder than it was.
Right.
And so once I figured that out, I upload the CSV to Claude. I say, hey, give me a list of conversations that may be something that I could business development with, not just people trying to sell me stuff. So it pointed out about 10 follow-ups that I could do that were valuable. I've had those 10 conversations. They were really mutually beneficial conversations. Nice. And now I don't have to worry about all those messages anymore. Like I've curated all of that. And, in 30 minutes, I've curated my entire LinkedIn list.
I love this, dude. I'm going to make a video about this. I'm going to figure out how to do that, and I'm going to make a video about that and post that on my LinkedIn to help all those people,
Totally. So, and I'm thinking of doing the same. Like, here's just a really practical productivity tool. And I agree with you. I'm a horrible speller. Any of my work colleagues that are looking at this are like, yeah, AI was made for you. You were the guy that they made it for.
Oh, man, I remember as soon as they turned on spell check on the iPhone, I got the very first iPhone. And for the first, several months, that wasn't a feature. Spell check wasn't a feature. And it was just always so embarrassing because now I'm like texting way more than I used to. But as soon as they turned that spell check on, it was like, yes, red underlined everything.
Totally. So I'm happy for the advancement. But I do think over the next even just 2 years, we're going to have to reconsider this notion of all technology is good.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, even looking at, thinking like, dang, I think it was like this, like the fall before last, the fall of like 2023, right? It was like ChatGPT was like a buzz. Everyone was talking about it, like nightly news, like whatever. And then how quickly, just in a year and a half, that has like been integrated into so many apps online and using it for your day-to-day work and like all these other kind of things. So you just imagine, okay, what is this going to look like? And it really is the gold rush, I feel like, of like search, right? Back in the day, it was like Yahoo and Netscape Navigator and a handful of people that were trying to vie for that. And then Google like won the war on search, and they were the dominant, piece. And people tried to come in like Bing or whoever, but it was like, you want to Google something, Sure. I feel like AI is kind of like right now, it's like you have all these, Claude and ChatGPT and Copilot and Gemini, and everyone's kind of vying for everyone's attention and space. Even Apple, obviously, like intelligence, but they're partnering, I think, with ChatGPT or OpenAI for some of their stuff.
I think there is a race here, though, because people, like we're helping a lot of people combine their proprietary data with the LLM in different agents or different use cases. We're helping a couple of e-commerce companies get rid of the typical filter search and have conversational search over their product lines.
Nice.
Which is, I mean, that is pretty interesting. And just this idea of the technical term is vector embedding, where you're taking your proprietary data and you're indexing it into a vector database. And then as the user query comes in, you're seeing what relevant data is in your vector database. So say you have a bunch of customer support information, you need to isolate the stuff in your customer support proprietary information that's relevant, and then you can bounce it over to the LLM to make it conversational. Like, so the user query comes in, you go grab the necessary information from your proprietary data, and then bounce that into the LLM and say, okay, answer this question with this information.
Right.
And we're doing that kind of repetitively. I do think that there's still a race between Gemini and like Google and Microsoft are kind of racing to create environments that have kind of pulled everything together already, where email and messaging and there is some kind of, I would say, orchestration of the AI component that's still happening.
Yeah.
And one of them's going to hit it out of the park, or it'll be a necessary feature to consider whether or not you want to use like an Office 365 or a Google Workspace. So I think they are probably doing the work to kind of pull together the different documents and chats and emails and create custom GPTs. While most folks are trying to figure that out for themselves right now.
Yeah. Well, and too, I think as a user, there's an element of like, all right, how much of my privacy or my data do I want to give up? Because even a few years ago, I think Apple, in one of their OS releases, they're like, hey, do you want us to scan all your photos for like inappropriate stuff, or like, to be able to protect your children, we can see images that come into their text messages or whatever and block them or flag them or whatever that might be. And so I'm like, okay, they're using some sort of AI learning model or whatever to detect those kind of things. But then you're like giving access to all of your images and for them to kind of see all that stuff. And then even with their latest revision, it sounds like they're trying to err on the side of, we want to protect your data. It's going to be sandboxed on your phone or whatever it is, but then we'll communicate with ChatGPT for basic information. But still, at some point, I think it was kind of like there's that ignorant part on the consumer side, right? Like when we all joined Facebook and we joined Instagram and all these things, we kind of signed our rights away, our life away, like, yeah, take all of our images. And then fast forward, and now OpenAI is using all that data to like, do face scannings and train its AIs and all these other kind of thing. And you're like, oh, dang it. Like, maybe I don't want my face and all my kids and everybody's data to be open source for everyone to have access to train their robots on.
Yeah, there's definitely some thought processing there. Like, I don't think that when we dropped a bunch of code secrets and answers onto Stack Overflow that we were expecting that to be regurgitated for everyone, right?
Right.
So my reward for doing that with Stack Overflow was that I got some altruism, like some ranking.
Yeah.
And I could, say, hey, I'm awesome on Reddit, or I'm awesome on Stack Overflow. But now, now just like the credit for that work that I did is not really being distributed to me. So I wonder if there's some kind of hybrid thing between blockchain and AI that comes up for the value of that, like the value of that information that you gave.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's super fun figuring it out though.
Yeah, totally. So at a young age, so you said you went to the School of Mines, which is a really prestigious school here in Colorado and really, anywhere. It's a great, school. So did you go there because they had a specialty in tech, or like what did you major in? Like what was your whole field?
No, I'm a mechanical engineering dropout.
Okay.
Computer science was the dark side. It was the easier path.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was really struggling to pass Physics 3 and I didn't have to take organic chemistry and Physics 3 to get a computer science degree. So no, it was really kind of path of least resistance. But definitely starting Salaries Computer Science at what was really the .com boom was better. So it ended up working out in my favor, but it was being opportunistic out of just like not being the sharpest tool in the shed at Mines. But it turned out really, really, really fun. I was able to come out right in the .com bubble.
Yeah, the golden age of
Yeah, and then the bubble burst, but there was still a lot of folks just having, Enron and a bunch of things kind of happened right around the time I was graduating. One of the first jobs that I was able to get was an online travel agency, and it was quite literally a travel agency with a storefront where people would walk in and sit in the desk across from the travel agent.
Not Travelocity.
Yeah, and we built a online version of the travel agency in a storefront building in small town Texas. Wow. So we really had to figure out how to build the internet from a small town in Texas, and so we were figuring out all kinds of things about how the internet worked. And we ended up being quite successful, 70 million in annual travel sales. Wow. Once we had it kind of built up. And, all the scaling pains is very, very much like a garage story. So I still work with some of those same guys
that's cool.
that I met during the build of that travel agency. And of course, many things have become much easier. Yeah. But our generalism, the things we learned about how the internet works in that adventure is still with us. Still very, very relevant.
So, at what point did you kind of start your own thing, or decide that you wanted to kind of run the show?
So I've always been kind of in that technical co-founder seat. So I just wanted to be, so even if I had to join a company at an earlier stage, I would do so. And then, online travel agency. And then I was, did one of the first vertical ad networks in travel. A vertical ad network is like publishers, advertisers, and then all the content. And you go partner with all the content providers to put ads on their pages. And then you sell to the big travel brands, so the travel brands can write one check, and then you pay out all the different publishers. Okay. So vertical ad network was a super hot thing, and I did one in travel, I did one in finance. Nice. And then most recently, I built a company called Legal Inc. and sold it to LegalZoom as a legal services company. And we got super good at automating the LLC formation process and keeping small businesses in compliance, and amassed a pretty decent subscriber base that drew the attention of LegalZoom, and then built another SaaS company, but then realized that I was doing the same things in all of these different businesses. And so Particle 41 was really born as a brand of, hey, how can we partner with forward-thinking CEOs and help them build their technology in a way that we like to say competes at the speed their market demands. Nice. And so we have 125 software engineers, data scientists, or DevOps people. We have a robust practice area framework where we're not only helping our teammates be technically strong, but also have good soft skills. So we call it, T-shaped people. T-shaped professionals. Our core values are elite. We're empowering leadership, innovation, teamwork, and excellence. And we're kind of like a SEAL Team 6 for digital execution. So you bring us in to train the trainers, right? You're missing some skills. I do a lot of CTO advisory work, so I'll partner with a CEO, and I love CEOs that are super driven and know their industry and work super hard, and I'll just be their running back for all the tech stuff, help them with their tech strategy, and then if they need a team, I'll put the team together and we'll just go crush it. Yeah. So I was doing that for so many CEOs over my over my career that I like, this is a business in and of itself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's kind of like doing the fun stuff, in some ways, right? Like you have all this knowledge and skill and experience, and it's like you know how to solve problems and fix things. And so it's kind of like, all right, I'm going to go in here and just be a rock star real quick and like solve all these problems. And especially in the tech world, right? I feel like there's kind of tech-minded people and then not tech-minded people, right? And I think there's a lot more not tech-minded people than there are tech-minded. And even in our business, in video production and podcasting, it's like sometimes I think to myself, like, how do you not like know, to have a mic or light yourself well or whatever it is? But it's like people are blind to it.
I think you have a responsibility too. If you're the tech guy, what most tech people will do is they will keep their world a mystery. So, the muggles can't handle my magic, right? And they'll keep it a mystery. But what I really want to do for the CEOs and the business leaders that I work with is demystify it.
That's cool.
Like, you may not need a bunch of super, rocket surgery people, you may just need to understand like the fundamentals of what you're trying to accomplish. And so we really try to pride ourselves on demystifying the problem so that it is understandable and we can make good decisions through it. And I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so I do care about building the perfect system, but it needs to be stage appropriate. So making stage appropriate decisions. If you only need a car to get to the next city over, then let's build you a car to get to the next city over. If you really do need a spaceship and you're trying to go to the moon, then let's build you that spaceship. But doing it where it's iterative and we're making good stage appropriate. That's I started Legal Inc. in 2015. I sold it to LegalZoom in 2018. And it was really by making the right stage appropriate decisions, biting off small chunks, getting those chunks in the hands of users, listening to the users and what they wanted, and then iterating towards user demand so that you're not spending dollars on things that can't get a return for a while. You're literally feeding your users with innovation, and then they're in turn paying you. Paying for that. They're kind of in it with you. We don't pay for Netflix because of the movies that are in there today. We pay Netflix for the movies that they will add, like each week, each month, whatever. And so having that relationship with your users to where they're bought into your vision is how we were able to amass a pretty good valuation in just 3 years.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, is that kind of the advice that you would give to a young entrepreneur or a small business owner? Is it that whole idea of, focus on the thing that you're really good at, provide really great value, take surveys and understand what your customers need and are looking for, and then grow appropriately? Because it sounds to me like, the experience that you've had over the years, it's almost like you have a formula in some ways of like, okay, even this new company, right? Your Particle 41, it's like, okay, do you have an exit plan or like an idea or a thought of like, okay, I've built and sold a company before, now I can build and sell another company and kind of keep doing that, or kind of what's your thoughts?
Yeah, a couple of ways I could answer that. One is certainly I've seen the most success with people right-sizing their idea. So Forte was one of my customers, and I was an advisor with them as well. And through the partnership with them, what Forte does is their online music lessons, and they're partnered with Sweetwater. It's been a great success story. And they really focused on, well, if we're going to do this, we need a really solid in-lesson experience. So if we're going to do virtual music lessons, the whole virtual experience has to be solid. We have to need a place for sharing music. The teacher needs to be able to fully see the student. We don't want to have any real heavy bevel across, the thing. Like, we need to make sure that the audio is good. Like, all this stuff is figured out. So they really focused on that. About midway through, as they're doing that, they're hearing things about scheduling and payments. And to their credit, they did a short test to try out scheduling and then started asking users and realized that the scheduling requirements, like what different people expected for a scheduler, like an appointment scheduler, were vast. And so they're like, wait a minute, nix the scheduling, nix the payments. We're just going to continue to focus on this in-lesson experience. And once it's perfect, like once we can get people to really enjoy the lesson taking process, then they did that. So, you're recording this on Riverside. Riverside has a great podcast recording experience. You don't schedule with Riverside. You don't, you use your calendar tools. And so they kind of followed that model and started giving a sharing link, a studio link to the, and then let the teachers schedule on their own. Eventually they did add scheduling as payment to have a complete two-sided marketplace. But by making that decision, they were able to get into some music schools during COVID. They were able to, move forward and see usage and measure. And so they were able to raise several rounds of funding and really push their business forward. Most entrepreneurs would have gotten I need it all. I need scheduling. I need payments. I need and they'd get themselves way in over their skis and start trying to build that spaceship when all they really need is a car to drive to the next city over.
That's been one of the things. So HubSpot, especially in the marketing, and sales arena, right? HubSpot is just so overkill, so expensive, and it's all these things that I don't need. It's I need a CRM, I need a pipeline, and I need email that I can track and send campaigns and do this. That's it. I don't need 1,000 ways to Sunday to, do certain things and all these nestled things within nestled things. And I'm just this is just too much. And then I found this company called Brevo, and it's just a simple marketing tool. And it's in my brain, when I opened it up, and it's really user-friendly, intuitive software. And it just has those things that I want, and need. And so I'm all right, I'm going to put all my eggs in this Brevo basket because they have clearly figured out that there's a market of a ton of people that don't need the sales force of marketing, and they just have a handful of employees, and they're only trying to reach, several thousand people, not hundreds of millions of people. And so this is the tool for them. And it blew my mind when I was trying to find a CRM and email marketing platform, just the lack of options there are out there. And so, again, there seems to be, if you focus on a particular niche, you can find an audience.
Yeah, no, what a great message and story for that person out there that's thinking about starting something, but is the equation here is intention plus mechanism equals result. So then the question that people ask about that equation is how much mechanism matters to your intention. So then the metaphor, the analogy is if you were stuck in, Paris, France, and you needed to get home to Denver, and it was a matter of life or death, but you had no wallet, no passport, no credit card, you had no phone, your phone is missing, but you're in a life and death situation, you have to get home. How long would it take you? And so when you think about that analogy, you go, well, I'd start asking people for help. I'd have this intention, and if I worried about the mechanism, I'd just sit still in a puddle of agony on the street and cry myself to death, right?
Right.
Because you'd be overly concerned about the mechanism. So as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we think, well, man, I want to create a really smart CRM, a really cool CRM, but Salesforce already exists. HubSpot already exists. Bad idea. Let's just move on. But what you're giving a great example of is if you have an intention and you think you have a niche or something special or something unique, even if it's small, maybe it's worth pursuing, right? Maybe the mechanism doesn't matter at all. All that really matters is our intention, our vision, and our focus. And so another way to answer your previous question is I spend a lot of time planning. And when I do that, hey, what really is my mission? What are my core values? You can even do this with your family, right? You can say hey, as a family, who are we? What are our core values as a family? What makes us special? What makes us unique? Some families I know are super playful. They'd be hey, we are a playful family. I know other families that are like, they just do hard stuff together. They love doing hard stuff. They like running. They like going camping in less than ideal environments. Like they're just a hard stuff family. So, so you can even do that with your family. Like, what's our mission as a family? What are our core values as a family? Where do we see ourselves 3 to 5 years from now? And then, then you give your employees that vision. And so I have a whole operating system that's loosely inspired by EOS. The EOS folks are really, and then all my leadership team have 90-day trackers. Like, what am I trying to accomplish in the next 90 days? And I think a huge, just in leadership, if we can make our teammates goal-oriented and strategic, the tasks will then take care of themselves.
Right.
If we can help them with their intention, they'll figure out the mechanisms. And I think a trap that we fall in as leaders is to focus on the mechanisms and get too into tasking people out, which doesn't scale. So that's some of the stuff that I walk through when I do CTO advisory is a little bit of like a leadership training and a CEO coaching, because a lot of CEOs can up their game dramatically just by giving their team the vision. Hey team, this is where I want to go. This is where I want to get. How can you help me with this? Our default future is going to be like this. If we don't do anything different, this is where we're going to be. But this is the new future that I want to create. How could you help me with that? And teams will perform according to what occurs to them. And you maximize your team's potential by using future language.
Oh, that's awesome. Can you give me some examples of that?
Yeah, so when you use future language, you create new possibility for folks. And I know I'm being abstract because
it's good.
For us, it's like, man, how could we serve double the amount of clients that we serve? That's a future language statement. Like right now we're in 20 active engagements. Okay, well, what would it look like, and how could we do 30? How could we do 40?
I love that, because what that does for me, even just like us having this conversation, right? It starts me to think of like, okay, well, what would that take? Or what are some things that we could do in order to get to 30? Your brain starts thinking of like, how do I solve this problem? Like the story loop's been opened, and now I need to figure out like, how can I contribute in order to close that story loop?
Exactly. What things need to be true for us to serve 40 clients, and then get the team collaborating on, well, we need this, we need a better hiring system. Okay, cool. Let's make right-sized decisions, and let's start putting some of that into action. So not only am I doing my work, but I'm bought into the vision, I'm bought into the future. And so giving that to your team, man, I'm always so impressed what my team is able to do when I just create what's possible. Like, could it be possible that we serve double the number of clients that we currently serve, and ask them, okay, well, what things need to be true in order to do that? And they come up with things like, well, what if we could do that and be more connected to each other as a group of employees? That's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
We want to do that and have fun doing it. Okay, cool. Let's put that in as part of our intention and part of our plan.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you find in kind of what you're doing now, like how many people are you managing, and what does your team look like as far as are you on the ground really in businesses, or do you have a team of people that you support in going into businesses and helping people? Yeah,
so it's a good question, and I think it's very bespoke. If there's a CEO with a $50 million business and they need a bunch of stuff, then we got tons of teammates involved with them. So we're 125 people all over the world. We have several major practice areas: cloud engineering, software development, data science. Those are 3 primary practice areas. On the strategic management consulting, we have like a product people. Like I have CTO advisors that are really good at like product pricing, go to market, that kind of situation. You're probably in that world quite a bit. But we also have, hey, I really need to be a better CEO. I need my processes to be better. I need to operate better. So we have CTO advisors that are really good with that. I love to do a lot of CTO advisory. Like I'm fueled by it. So it kind of wrings out my sponge and soaks it up all at the same time. So I do a lot of CTO advisory myself. And then we have a leadership team that, obviously my CTO who oversees those practice areas is a buddy of mine that we've worked together for 20 years. And then we have like kind of the guy that manages project managers. He's called the customer lead. So we call that department kind of the customer department, where he's really cares about the customer experience. Nice. And then of course we have finance and people, a people org, a finance org, and then a sales org and a marketing org. And all those leaders do report to me.
Nice. That's awesome. And you said you kind of have your own framework or methodology. You borrowed some stuff from EOS, and we've talked about EOS a little bit on the show in the past. And I feel like it is one of those things where it's not always one size fits all, although EOS is, I really like it. And with some clients that we do some kind of fractional CMO type work with, they're all into it. And so we're helping, go to their L10 meetings and like speaking into different things. Yeah. But it's funny because in our own practice, I'm like, I see the benefit of some of this stuff, but some of it just seems overkill, and I don't really think it would create more busy work for people than it would benefit us. And so trying to find those bits and pieces of things that you discover and how they fit within your organization and whatnot.
Yeah. I think so I totally agree with you. I think when you're trying to hit a couple $1 million a year consistently in revenue, a lot of that stuff does feel a little bit overkill. But as you get to 10, man, a lot of those things are super needed. Mm-hmm. As you get to the 20, 30, like now you're like, oh, I need all of this because I need to keep way more people aligned. Yeah. And so I think the viscosity of the Kool-Aid gets thicker as the revenue increases, right? Mm-hmm. So I do what I love the most though about EOS is the time compression. I love I spent many of the businesses that I was a part of, even hung out at LegalZoom for many years. It's really about this annual planning. Mm-hmm. The leadership would get super engaged in annual planning. And I don't find that many businesses really attach themselves to the effectiveness of a quarter. And so I love 90-day planning. I think 90-day planning is the right, and I see successful companies having more time compression. Yeah. Even in software development, we have that sprint, right? That sprint is that beautiful form of time compression. How much work can you get done in 2 weeks? And being a software developer, in an engineering background, I love that because it does drive a lot of stuff forward really quickly.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's especially for our entrepreneurs out there that are, solopreneurs and small business creators, freelancers. I think that's key because I think we get caught up in a lot of this. What's your 5-year and 10-year goal? And you're like, I don't know. Like, I don't know where I want to be in 5 or 10 years. Like, I just want to try to get a paycheck, this quarter or whatever. So I think really trying to shrink down and work backwards or what are the small things I need to do over the next 3 months in order to build a good foundation to reach more people? Do I need to start creating online content? Do I need to start brushing up my CRM and building my network? Do I need to go places and meet people and raise awareness of the work that we do? It's like kind of working backwards in those small things. And then you can set those 90-day goals of okay, this quarter, I'm going to focus on these 3 tasks. And then the next quarter, I'm going to focus on the next 3 tasks, opposed to trying to bite off this big elephant of what is my 10-year vision for the company? It's like, I don't know.
The two work really hand in hand. That going back to that future language, the purpose of the 3 to 5 year is what is possible, right? Mm-hmm. What's really possible, and that make I always have to go take a break or kind of off. It might be cliche, but I have to kind of go on a walkabout kind of deal, to get my head clear. and really think like, what could be possible? Like, is it possible that I have more time with my family, but I make more money? Like, is that what's important to me? And setting that up so that when you are breaking it down to the 90-day plan, you're creating that, it's a life by design rather than a life by, by necessity or by chance.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that that's good, man. We got some gold here in this episode. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with me and just sharing some of your wisdom and your experience.
Oh, my pleasure, Mark.
So I love, I love our conversation, and I know that if you're listening to this, I know you got some value from it. So, if people wanted to connect with you, if they wanted to, learn more, what's the best place to kind of
so I'm on LinkedIn, and I have a book appointment link on LinkedIn. So I'm super easy to get time with. So I'd love for, anybody who's interested in continuing the conversation to go. I'm Benjamin Johnson on LinkedIn. You can also find me. I have a book appointment link on particle41.com. It couldn't be easier to get into a meeting with.
Nice. Awesome. If you were to give somebody a word of advice for next week, hey, starting Monday, if you want to have a successful business, or if you want to be a good steward of your talents, what would be the thing that you would encourage someone to start doing next week?
Drink more water. I'm going to be a little cheeky. I'm going to say, man, just take some time, drink more water, take care of yourself, and focus on your intention. Like, what is really my intention? Don't worry about the mechanism. Just really determine your intention. The mechanisms will work themselves out if you stay focused on your main objectives.
Great. It's fantastic. I love it. Well, hey, thanks so much for being with us, and thank you for listening to The Friday Habit. If you go to thefridayhabit.com, you can find show notes for this episode. You can also find links to our websites and ways to get in touch. And at the bottom of the page, you can download our Friday Habit system. That's going to show you how to set aside one full day each week to dedicate working on your business instead of always in your business. You can reach us at hello@thefridayhabit.com if you got any questions or a guest suggestion. And remember, until next time, live every day like it's Friday.